Hello, what's going on, literate nerds? Oh, I just saw it spike right there, my microphone. Let's get this set up properly. So anyway, hey, how's it going? It's PK. I'm doing a live broadcast. I don't know how many folks are listening to. Probably zero, but it doesn't really matter. This is really more for me to do vocal exercises, do intros and outros and stuff like that, and allow my sound engineer / producer, musical director, Mr. Alex Tashane, who, by the way, is available for hire. You can find him on the internet. Tichane is his last name. First name, Alexander. But anyway, I figured I'll just do a little live rambling today. Why not? Sunday. So, and I'm going to do a reading from Roger Zelazny's The Last Defender of Camelot. Oh, God, I'm sorry that went out, folks. I was trying to hit the mute button, and I realized I just snorted, and I'm so sorry. See, the problem is that my pop filter, maybe if I put the pop filter farther up, yeah, maybe that'll do it. The problem is my pop filter obscures the button, and I can't tell whether it's because it's solid red when it's on, and then it's blinking red when it's off. But I can't see it through the pop filter. So, excuse me. So I have to tilt my head down, look, turn it off, and then cough. So I apologize about that for those of you that heard it. Anyway, I'm going to do a reading of Zelazny's Last Defender of Camelot. I'm sorry, not from Roger Zelazny's Last Defender of Camelot. I should say it's a story called Half Jack, which evidently was inspired when Zelazny saw the first issue of Omni on the magazine shelves and was like, I want to write for that. So he, and Zelazny being the true master that he was, and true genius, one of the best in his craft, and unlike other geniuses in that craft, evidently was a really, really very sweet man. Well, I shouldn't say that. Was evidently, I can say objectively was a very sweet man because I met him, and I talked to his son occasionally on social media. His son, Trent Zelazny, is also an author of crime fiction primarily. Does write some fantasy, does write some weird fiction like his dad did, but primarily writes crime fiction and is an excellent author. And also works at the movie theater owned by George R.R. Martin, who obviously took a ton of... while the houses might be different, so on and so forth, like that, and the structure may be different, but a lot of the Byzantine intrigue style that Martin infused Game of Thrones, I should say, or A Song of Ice and Fire, with a lot of what he infused it with is directly taken from Roger Zelazny, and obviously, Mr. Martin fully acknowledges that. That's one of the things I love about George R.R. Martin is that he wears his influences on his sleeves, and he also he's got no problem telling you what he's sampling from, And that's the difference between, I think that's in a lot of ways, I don't know, man. I think in a lot of ways it's different from what, I have a problem with Tarantino doing, where Tarantino will just bite lines of dialogue from people. George R.R. Martin takes, style, notes from people and stuff like that. And, conceptual things, If you're familiar with the work of Michael Moorcock, you're familiar with the Melnibonéans, and the Melnibonéans and the Targaryens are, they are, not identical, but pretty damn close. Very, very similar. Intermarriage. The one way the Melnibonéans are not similar is that the Melnibonéans are not all white-haired and fair-skinned. Only their last emperor, Elric, is that way because he's an albino. Most depictions of the Melnibonéans, they are white but are dark-haired. I've always pictured them, they're not. They're supposed to be sort of elvish. They're not quite human. Is said, but I don't know. If I ever had the opportunity to visualize or actualize my concept of Moorcock's Melnibonéans, that's a hell of a mouthful. It would definitely. I'd like to see an Asian actor play Elric specifically. Moorcock has the Eternal Champion is a cycle of stories that Moorcock has, and the Eternal Champion, each of them live a lot. It's like a reincarnated soul, and there's usually the Eternal Champion usually has a companion, like the Doctor, and there's certain other things that the Eternal Champion always has an aspect of, and there's only one of them that remembers all of his previous lives, and that's Eric Cassay, and I always thought that he should be played by, someone of African, South African, not South Africa, sorry, Southern African or Western African descent. That's what I always thought. Like I was saying, also the casting of these characters. I was supposed to be, talking about reading Zelazny, and I'm going off about Moorcock, but it's all right because I just love this stuff, and it's good for me to work on, keeping my mic levels right and not, getting popped and stuff like that. All right. So you have the Eternal Champions, and there's as I mentioned, Eric Cassay and Elric. And then you have Hawkmoon, who is a guy that is supposed to be in our distant future where there's been like a massive cataclysm, possibly nuclear war, and science, has gotten to this point where it's almost like it's super science to the level of magic kind of thing. And he's got this jewel in his forehead that is basically it gives him magical abilities, but it's also like the ticking time bomb. It's going to explode. If you get out of line, it's going to eat his brain if he doesn't do the bidding of these evil guys. And I definitely say cast a white guy in that, because he's kind of Hawkmoon's like the most classically sword and sorcery of the Eternal Champions, and I've always seen him as kind of the most hapless. Not hapless. He's an incredible warrior, but the most kind of like befuddled of them. And there's Coram, the Prince in the Red Robe, and he's my favorite by far. He's the most. Elric's kind of my favorite. Elric's the most popular, and I love reading Elric because the Elric stories are just really Moorcock at his best. But Coram is so wonderful, and he's he's this tragic. He's of this people that like Elric's, like the Melnibonéans, are dying out, and they're not quite human. and humans are coming along and wiping them out. The Mabden, I believe, is the word that Quorum's people have for humans. And them being similar to elves, they're very, very, long-lived. So at the beginning of the first Quorum novel, he's talking to his parents. He's like writing a symphony that's, taking like 20 years to write or something. I forget. So they're that kind of people. And Quorum is, of all of the Eternal Champions, I think Quorum is the most noble. And he's certainly in many ways the most tragic because he is the most noble. He's horribly cursed. He has an eye that can see into the netherworld, and his hand. Well, his eye was torn out, and a crystal was put in his skull. And his hand was replaced with the hand of the eye and the hand are actually the eye and the hand of a dead god. And he can reach into the netherworld with the hand and draw out undead soldiers that do his bidding. And he doesn't like to do this, he doesn't take comfort or I shouldn't say doesn't take pleasure in doing this kind of thing at all, as opposed to Elric, who has a sword that is literally a god entrapped in the shape of a sword that eats souls. It's an evil god. It's the evil god. But Elric often uses Stormbringer as an excuse for his bloodthirstiness, and as opposed to, Quorum only does, will only call upon these wraiths when absolutely necessary, and he's, like I said, Quorum's definitely the most noble of them, the Prince in the Scarlet Robe. Just Michael Mignola, who created Hellboy, did a wonderful adaptation of the first Quorum series for, I'm going to say first. Yeah, it was First Comics. It was late towards the end of their existence. I know that there's a new first and stuff. I know some people have worked for them. I also know there's whatever. I've heard there's some ickiness about. I heard how they bought the name, went down, and also I heard that there's been some problems with them paying people. But that, that's just hearsay and stuff I remember, so please don't take it to heart. I know I don't probably have a lot of listeners, but the last thing I need is people going after, publishers who did right, after stuff was said. But I know the publisher of the original, the original First Comics was founded by Mike Gold, who actually was one of the people that was going to, he did help Standard Attica get made. But Comic Mix, which was his company, was one of the people, one of the groups that was initially, if we didn't find a publisher, was going to help us crowdfund Standard Attica. And we were very lucky to find Boom Studios, and they took care of business, man, that's for sure. But Mike Gold, and if there's anybody out there, if you need comic book services, you need editors, you're looking for artists and writers or anything along those lines, check out Comic Mix. They have wonderful people. Glenn Howman, I don't know what Glenn's proper title is, but I would guess it's editor-in-chief. Or Glenn may be publisher now, but Mike is still involved. They're working still with Mike. Mike Grell is doing all new John Sable freelance material with the help of Comic Mix, man, and that's some really cool stuff. That's another Kickstarter I got to get on. I don't have enough money. You know what, man? All right, my Venmo is Bell Mojo, BELLMOJO. All right, Bell Mojo. Somebody Venmo me. Somebody Venmo me $25, and I promise you, I'll put it towards Mike Grell's Kickstarter campaign for John Sable freelance. Absolutely.